Hi. Um, so what is the process to get these guys released? I understand that the requirements have been met. So when are they going to get pooped out the door? Hello?
Bridgewater, please report a line.
Hi. Could you tell me approximately how many officers on average you have on duty at the department on a night like tonight?
That's a matter of operating, and we don't generally release that.
You don't know approximately how many coworkers you come to work with?
Yeah, we know, but we don't release that kind of information.
Oh, you don't release that kind of information?
We do not know.
Approximately how big is the community that you serve?
Almost 30,000.
30,000? So,
Yes, sir.
so approximately $1 million times 2 journalists exercising protected First Amendment activities on a public sidewalk in your community divided by approximately 30,000 people. Do you know how much money that's going to cost each person in your community? And it would be appropriate to render your answer in scientific notation to 5 significant digits.
A lot.
A lot, yeah. So when are you guys going to release those guys before you keep racking up the litigation cost?
I'm just not sure.
You're not sure? What else needs to be done to meet the ransom requirements of their abduction?
I'm just not sure.
You're not sure? What is your name, ma'am? You've been very polite with me, and I appreciate that.
Officer, yes.
Say again?
Officer.
Officer whom?
Officer. Officer.
Oh, your last name is Officer.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's interesting. What's your badge number, Miss Officer?
50.
50? And how long have you been with the department?
Oh, that's 5 years.
What made you select a career in law enforcement?
Because there's a lot of really crazy people up there, and it's hard to swallow that these people are just out running around loose.
Yeah, isn't it crazy?
Being a problem.
In my community, I find that those people are fairly easy to identify because they all wear the same clothing, and you can see them from a distance because their badges are shiny.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
That's exactly why I got into this job.
Right, because there's safety in numbers, right? If you can join the group, then you're probably pretty safe, right? So, a personal question, if you don't mind. When's the last time that you spent at least as much time in the law library as you did on the gun range in a given month?
When's the last time? I've never been at either one, so.
Oh, you're not a law enforcement officer?
No, I am. But there's really no need to, any fool could do this job, right?
Oh, there are definitely a lot of fools doing that job, and it would be my preference.
Why would I want to do this job? Nobody likes us.
Oh, no, there's a number of law enforcement officers that I have the utmost respect and trust for, actually, which might surprise you considering the work that I do. But no, my job, it just so happens that me and my colleagues are magnets for bad cops, and that's why we do what we do, is so that we can weed those guys out so that your job is both more effective as well as more honorable.
Well, thank you for your work, sir.
Well, thank you, ma'am. I definitely appreciate that. So you said that you've not been either to the law library or to the gun range?
Nope.
How is it that you can have your post certification and carry a firearm if you haven't been to a gun range to practice how that device is used safely?
I told you, anybody can get this job, anybody.
Well, not anybody. There is some Supreme Court rulings that suggest that actually not anybody can get that job, particularly if their IQ is too high, then they can't get that job. I don't know if you're aware of that, but there is actually...
Your IQ too high, is that...
Yeah, it turns out that if you're too smart, they don't have to hire you at the police department, which is kind of scary. If you were to take your badge off and be a regular citizen like me, that would be pretty scary, don't you think? Well, you already mentioned that you joined them so that you might not be a victim of them, but that's hey, maybe we need more people to do that. That actually sounds like a good survival technique, officer.
Can't beat them. You got to join them, right?
That's right. That's right. So, so being a law enforcement officer for the last 5 years, having not been to the gun range nor to the law library, what is your basic lay understanding then of what the First Amendment entails as it relates to public property, public sidewalks? I'm not sure that you've had an opportunity to read Grace versus United States, so I'm not asking you for a professional legal opinion, but considering that any idiot can do this job, what is your average idiot take on that question? You don't know? It should be thought-provoking question because Grace was established more than 50 years ago. So, and in fact, Mr. Grace was handing out literature on the front steps of the United States Supreme Court building, and they arrested Mr. Grace for this. And the Supreme Court said, the public sidewalks, which are open to the public, they're not fenced. There's a sidewalk provided to invite the public. The Supreme Court steps were certainly no different than any other sidewalk in Washington, D.C., and there's certainly no clear delineation markers. And so, therefore, the public's interest, in fact, the public's duty to raise their voices and express whatever concerns of their thinking, whether we agree with them or not, was certainly protected on the sidewalk leading to the United States Supreme Court building. No matter what that message is, however savory or unsavory it may be, and certainly I think that would imply that a person has the right to collect content for a story in the same kind of location. So considering that, and without admitting that I'm right on that, but if I am correct on that statement, and of course I am, what are your thoughts on your department jacking up the cost of the community there? I don't know if you live in the community, but how do you feel now that you're going to have to pay a rather substantial price to learn a lesson that was already well established in Grace?
Not good at all. That sounds terrible.
And do you live in the Bridgewater community, or are you somewhat immune and insulated from the costs of your department's stupidity?
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, isn't it? So considering
what
that...
happened?
Oh, what is that a whole gaggle? Well, I'm going to call it a Congress because a group of baboons is called a Congress. So an entire Congress of what some people refer to as Blue ISIS, which would be a police officer, armed. They had arms. They had armament. They had certainly a very menacing presence, and then they bound and whisked journalists off the sidewalk who were merely exercising their right, and in fact their duty to...
Why would they do that?
Why would they do that? That's a fantastic question. And having watched that event live when it happened, and being quite legally astute myself, I'm stunned by this behavior. And I'm particularly stunned by the behavior of the numerous other coworkers of yours that I've been calling that have simply been hanging up or leaving me on hold for 48 minutes at a time. And not answering questions. I want to tell you, I do very much appreciate.
I'm happy to answer your question.
Yes, yes.
I just got here, so I don't know what happened. So what happened?
Oh, okay. Well, there is numerous people that have rebroadcast these videos. So if you, for example, would like to go to my channel, because I can direct you to that one the most easily, I immediately mirrored that broadcast to protect and preserve that evidence. Okay. So my YouTube channel is very easy to find. Tell me.
Still there?
Yeah, just let me know when you're ready to get the information to find the broadcast.
All right. Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. So the YouTube channel is Eric Brandt.
Okay.
And it's not the most recent video that I published. I just published one about activists who were arrested for feeding the homeless in Denver, Colorado. It's the one right before that says journalists abducted or kidnapped or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm on the
Why
phone
would
with
they
you.
do that? Why would they?
That I think that's an excellent video to watch as training because certainly that was an example, a very glowing example of precisely how not to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Were those guys trying to get arrested?
Oh, no. Who would try to get arrested? They were out there collecting content for a story, and they were accosted and surrounded and detained by armed goons that thought that they knew more than they did. And, of course, they were wrong,
Right.
which is, unfortunately, reasonably regular occurrence. Because we've learned that unfortunately, contrary to their own accolades, law enforcement officers are generally fairly ignorant of the law.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that most of them know maybe 8 or 10 statutes that they fairly routinely charge, and they know how to write the report so that they can tell the same story in every case and get a conviction. And I call it mastering the art of vagary. Oh, honey, I've been arrested over 100 times. I know.
What?
Oh, yes.
Come on.
For real. For real.
What in the world? How?
Rusty Roaster. Well, I've been arrested for free speech activities.
Oh, my goodness. That just happens everywhere you go?
I tend to get arrested on a fairly regular basis. I've been arrested nearly a dozen times this summer alone, and that's down quite a bit because most jurisdictions have been getting their lesson at a rather expensive rate. Come here, boo-boo. Rusty. Hold on, I gotta grab my dog. Rusty Roo! Hey!
What kind of dog?
Why aren't you? Get home. Go. Naughty. So he's a wiener dog.
Oh, very nice. I love those.
I love those too. You know, I've actually been arrested and charged with soliciting sex from a minor for a sign that reads, "Stroke my wiener for 25 cents."
Now that's just funny.
That's just funny. I know. That's hysterical. But no, when you watch my channel, and I do recommend that you pop the popcorn, order pizza, sit down with your friends, put the kids to bed for sure, because my channel may not be appropriate for young audiences.
Okay.
No, yeah.
Is Rusty on there? Do I get to see him?
Rusty's on there, yeah. In fact, I just published a video of Rusty this morning.
Oh, all right.
He's a cute little guy. Yeah. Right. So I appreciate your phone call. This is fantastic, officer. Badge number 50. Can you tell me, is there any update on the status of my colleagues?
I have no idea. I just walked in, so I have no idea what's going on.
Oh, I would be more than happy to go on hold for a few minutes if you could inquire.
I can put you on hold, but I'm not sure that they're going to tell me what's going on.
Marvelous. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, hold on. Hello, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Yeah.
I couldn't get an answer out of anyone. They're all on the phone or running around. Seems very busy in here.
Yes, that's probably the result of committing illegal arrests on journalists exercising their protected First Amendment right to collect content for a story on public sidewalks in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. So you weren't able to get anybody's information, huh? Or information about this situation. So the funny thing here is that what I'm concerned about is that the badge numbering schemata in Bridgewater, Massachusetts does not appear to match the badge number that you gave me. So are you sure that you gave me the correct badge number?
Oh, yes.
And you were hired about 5 years ago?
Yes.
And not asking for any payroll specific data, but rather the public information. What is your annual salary plus roll-up costs?
$150.
That's approximately. That's with the benefits rolled in?
Sometimes less, sometimes more.
Right. And is your employee ID number different from your badge number?
Mm-hmm.
What is your employee ID number?
Well, that goes by your Social Security number, so that's not public information.
Oh, yeah, honey, I've been doing this for a very long time, and that's not a correct answer. I know that that's not the truth. So do you want to rephrase that response in the form of not a lie?
So it would be 50 is what we use.
Oh, so it is the same as your badge number then?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Oh, yeah. And what's your rank, officer?
It's officer.
So your rank is just officer.
Yes.
So that's like entry-level officer, 5 years of experience, no gun range experience, no law library experience, and $150,000 in public roll-up costs in a community that has 30,000 residents.
Correct.
Yeah, those poor people aren't very good at math, are they?
I don't know.
That's great because they're not even going to notice this hit. I mean, if they, wow, I can imagine 30,000 residents that you probably have a department that's somewhere on the order of maybe 80 to 100 officers. And $150,000 in roll-up costs for each officer, that is like, wow, the annual taxes for the public safety system alone exceed my monthly mortgage payment. That's amazing.
Takes a lot.
Well, not really, actually. I suppose just if you're in Bridgewater. I have heard some people suggesting today that Bridgewater is actually a misspelling of Turdwater, and that might explain why people are willing to spend so much money on their public in just us system. And of course, by us, I don't mean us, but I mean you. Wow, that's amazing.
I've heard that too.
Yes, that is. So there must be something in the water in Turdwater, Massachusetts.
Better believe it.
Yeah.
Better believe it. You saw what I saw. Ooh.
I saw some of Bridgewater this morning when you guys abducted those journalists, and it was live streamed to thousands of people. Yeah, so when you go to my YouTube channel and see their short video, it's, the arrest incident occurred in the last 5 minutes of a 15-minute stream. And I just replicated that to ensure that what we've experienced is some law enforcement agencies will actually try to tamper with our evidence and delete the streams while we're in jail. So we have a pretty sophisticated network of people to protect ourselves from that kind of felonious activity.
I don't blame you. Great idea.
So, listen, great. I appreciate you staying on the phone with me. All of my listeners certainly appreciate it, your courteousness, even though the information does seem to be substantially out of line with standards that we are experiencing. I'd certainly appreciate the information nonetheless.
You take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Mm-hmm.